All right. See, we're recording. I want to welcome everybody to our event. Unfortunately, we weren't able to hold it last year in person, and assumed like everybody else that we would be back again this spring. Um, through Nick's help and the board's direction, we decided to go ahead and hold a virtual event this year. So I really appreciate everybody coming online here. We held a couple of webinars this winter that were very well attended and I think very well done. So it's a tool that has been in our toolbox for a long time, but I think we were forced to get good at it. So again, thanks to everybody for showing up. We had some great projects submitted. I got to see a dry run of this thing on Monday, and pretty excited to see it again on some of these masonry projects. We had one lone project in concrete, so the surprise of the winter is a bit mute, but again, a great project that I'm excited to hear what Kyle has to say about it. So I'd like to say thank you to Nick. As you guys see here, he's the kind of the man behind the curtain, pulling the levers here, making all this stuff happen for us. Puts a lot of work into this stuff and makes all of us look good. So thank you, Nick, and appreciate your help there. I've got other people to thank and the sponsors, but the submitters, the people that actually take the time to put these things together and turn them in. It's a additional duty, as we'd call it in the military, but it shows commitment to ACI Central New York, and this is really how our group maintains the status that we have of an active group that meets and gets things done, and it's all volunteer. So thank you to the people that took the time to turn those in. Also want to thank the sponsors that we have, our website sponsors, Atlantic Testing, my alma mater, if you were, and Dan Owens serves on our board with us. CME Associates, group we work very closely with. Neil and I, Neil runs the certification programs and I help out. Ryan Biggs, all you guys, Jamie, Chris, John Pilar, and now Kyle for today. Klepper, Hahn, and Hyatt, too many to list, so I'll hit the top guys with Gordon, Deloisio, and Jim Colombo, Jeff Packard. You guys have always been there for us. Roselli Northern, I've twisted Mark Balamia's arm and got him to join our board as well since I've been working with these guys. So nice to have our own support. A couple of our guys were going to try to make the meeting as well. Tim Rufo, my man from Binghamton. I don't know if he was going to be able to make it today or not, but always there for us with Barney and Dick. Pickney, the Precast Association of New York. Ron Thornton still keeping his toes in the water for us, so thanks to that. We're going to go through, I'm going to hand this over to Nick. He's going to go through the masonry projects. He will be passing those over to the different, each judge will present the bronze, silver, and gold. Nick's going to do the one honor of merit. He'll pass it to me. I will introduce Kyle briefly. He'll go through the lone concrete project. Then it comes back. We'll do a little roundup at the end. Hoping to be done in just about an hour time, somewhere in there. So take it away, Nick.
Well, thank you very much, Greg, and apologies for the technical glitch there, but we've got PowerPoint restarted, and I'll leave this slide up for just a moment to acknowledge all of our kind sponsors, as Greg has. Once again, folks, I'm very honored to be the coordinator for the masonry portion of our annual awards for design and installation for concrete and masonry. Now, every project that's submitted to ACI Central New York is judged and scored in 4 distinct categories: aesthetic concept, innovative use of materials, structural design, and quality of installation. Now, under normal circumstances, the 4th category requires a visit to the finalist sites by the judges and myself. However, to say that the past several months has been anything but normal for all of us is quite an understatement. The pandemic disrupted virtually every facet of our daily lives, and the ACI Central New York Awards were no exception. Thanks to COVID, site visits to the 3 finalists were all but impossible. Our judges persevered, however, and through a second video conference, selected our bronze, silver, and gold honorees. Now, I'd like to introduce our judges for masonry at this time. Our first judge is Mr. Michael Bosak. Mike holds a Master of Architecture degree from the University of Buffalo and became a New York State registered architect in 1994. He holds several positions with the federal, or has held several positions with the federal government as an architect and housing program director since 1989. He served as president of the nonprofit educational organization, the Landmark Society of Greater Utica, from 1999 until 2003, and again from May of 2008 until November of 2012. He's currently the vice president for education and has been a trustee of that organization since 1995. Well, that was Mike's bio when the judging process began back in March of 2020. It has taken us much longer than usual to reach this point, however, and now Mike can add retiree to his resume as of July 2021. Our second judge is Mr. Scott Lupini, who, along with his sister Lori, Scott owns Lupini Construction Incorporated, a masonry preservation contractor located in Utica that was started by their father in the early 1980s. Scott is very active in the masonry community, serving as a director on several masonry industry-related boards, and also very active in helping to cultivate future masonry craftsmen through recruitment and education. Scott has provided numerous workshops and lectures on the preservation of historic masonry and continues to provide consultation services to designers and owners. Scott's no stranger to our awards program, as Lupini Construction was awarded ACI Central New York's Gold Award in 2018 for excellence in masonry for the State Tower Parapet and Facade Restoration Project in Syracuse. And rounding out our team of judges is Mr. James Deloisio. Jim is a principal with Klepper, Hahn, and Hyatt in East Syracuse. KHH is a member of ACI, and Jim is a member of the American Society of Civil Engineers, the Structural Engineers Association of New York, and the Construction Specifications Institute. He has over 30 years' experience in the design of new buildings, renovations, and building assessments. A structural engineer by training, he is also a building envelope consultant and energy code trainer. Jim is a former board member of the upstate chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council as well. Now, for the 2019 awards, there were 4 projects submitted for consideration in the masonry category. And as every year, we recognize that we can only have 1 bronze, 1 silver, and 1 gold award winner. Our judges have determined that 1 project will receive the ACI Central New York Special Recognition Award of Merit. A single plaque will be presented to the owner of the Award of Merit project. Therefore, before we hear from our judges who will each present a medal award, it's my privilege to present the Special Recognition Award of Merit to the Johnson Center for Health and Wellness at Hamilton College, located in Clinton, New York. The 13,000 square foot, 2-story Johnson Center for Health and Wellness features a variety of structural systems. The 3 steeply pitched roof gables and slate shingles are supported by prefabricated wood trusses spanning between structural steel support lines. The second floor and a portion of the first floor are supported by conventional concrete slab-on-deck construction with steel beams and columns. The selection of the lateral load-resisting system was important because of the architectural desire for the system to not inhibit the space in any way. It was decided that 3 individual shear towers would encompass the 2 stair shafts and the single elevator shaft. However, all the shafts were located towards the northern end of the building, which is not ideal for overall building torsional rotation during a windstorm or seismic event. The lateral load-resisting system had to be rigid enough to prevent excessive building torsion, as well as be a cost-effective solution. Therefore, the design team settled on CMU shear walls to surround the 2 stairs and single elevator. The system was supplemented by steel moment frames at the southern end of the building. The basement level houses the large mechanical units necessary to serve the building. Because of a high water table and the constant presence of underground water flow at the site, a dedicated under-slab drainage system was needed. The general contractor, Gaetano Construction Corporation, encountered an enormous amount of water flow on the site. Keeping the construction site and the building's basement dry was an achievement upon itself. The building is comprised of a shared waiting room, reception, and conference staff room that serves both the clinical suite on the first floor and counseling offices, group rooms, sunroom, and biofeedback space on the second floor. Within the clinical suite are staff offices, exam rooms, nurses station, medication room and lab, and the student-run EMT service. The first floor features radiant heating within the floor slab. The owner requested that the initial design of the building would allow for a future second story and roof gable to be built upon the southernmost part of the structure above what was originally to be a low roof. The decision on expansion was expected to come several years after the project was completed. However, much to the design team's surprise, the owner elected to proceed with the future expansion while the design drawings for the original structure were still being completed. This could have resulted in a significant amount of added design and detail work that may have impacted architectural aesthetic had the lateral load resisting system not been as robust as the CMU shear walls. The design team was easily able to absorb the additional load from the addition through an increase in steel reinforcement. The exterior facade of the building stands out as a shining example of the beauty that can be achieved with well-executed stone masonry. The hand-placed stone facade used a back bed of mortar to achieve a dry-laid look without the appearance of mortar joints. A continuous horizontal bluestone band above the typical window heads visually ties into the stone rain screen on the north facade. The Johnson Center for Health and Wellness is the archetype of a project that boasts the perfect blend of brawn and beauty achievable with masonry construction. And at this time, I'd like to congratulate the owner and the design team on an outstanding project. The project owner is Hamilton College. Project architect is Chang O'Brien Architects. Project engineer is Ryan Biggs, Clark Davis Engineering and Surveying. General contractor was Charles A. Gaetano Construction Corporation. Masonry contractor, Paragon Masonry. The masonry producer, Rosselli Northern. The testing company and special inspector, both Atlantic Testing Laboratories, and the stone installer was Schneid Construction Company. Again, congratulations to all involved in this outstanding project. Now, I'm going to move things along here, and it's time to turn things over to Mr. Michael Bosak to present our Bronze Award winner. So, Michael, if you would take it away, please, and just give me the signal when you want me to change slides.
All right, thank you, Nick. Our Bronze Award winner is the Woodlawn Administration Building, and it's a very handsome structure. First slide, please, Nick. The original building was completely demolished with the exception of the foundation and vaults. New foundations were added for a larger building footprint and a better appearance. Next slide. The new foundation was constructed of 8-inch CMUs, which was grouted solid with 3,000 PSI coarse grout, reinforced with number 5 rebar, 32 inches on center, with a bond beam top course. Next slide, please. The building was wood framed before the stone and brick veneer was started. Next slide. The stone veneer was full depth ledge stone manufactured by Champlain Stone Limited. The mortar used was type N Portland and lime, color 22A. Next slide. The wall makeup behind the stone consists of 2-inch XPS insulation, drainage mat, textile flash, quadro vents, and DW10 anchors. The stone supplier was Paragon Supply. Next slide, please. The brick veneer was Adrian MSFL modular made by Glengarry. Wall construction behind the brick was textile flash mortar, net cavity drainage, quadro vents, and DW10 anchors. Next slide. The brick was supplied by Bach Brick. All accessories and stainless steel anchors were supplied by Homan and Barn. Next slide, please. The precast was manufactured by Steps Plus Incorporated. Engineering for anchors and additional modified support angles was done by Homan and Barnard engineers. Next slide. Temporary wood notches were made to set the precast on while it was set piece by piece. The certified welder was on site to weld anchors and supports for the precast. And there you have it. Congratulations go to The team, Woodlawn Cemetery Administration Building, located on Grant Boulevard in Syracuse, New York. A very handsome structure, and I can't wait to see it in person someday. Project submitted by Paragon Masonry of Brewerton. General contractor was CBD Construction of Syracuse. The architect was JTS Incorporated of Dallas, Texas. Engineering was done by Napierella Consulting of Manlius. Project completion was January of 2019. Congratulations to all of you.
All right, Michael, thanks very much. Next up is Mr. Scott Lupini to present our Silver Award. Scott, take it away.
Thanks, Nick. I'm to award the ACI Silver Award. First of all, Residence Halls, Colgate. Congratulations to the Alliance. Silver Award.
Scott, I think you're muted.
You're mute, Scott.
You want me to do this in sign language? Let's start again then.
Yes.
I'm pleased to award the ACI Central New York Chapter Silver Award for Burke Hall and Pitchen Residence Halls at Colgate University. Next slide, Nick.
Okay.
Congratulations to the team at Alliance Masonry, Jason Miner with Colgate University for another award-winning project at Colgate University. The pair of Residence Hall, Burke Hall, and Pitchen Hall at Colgate University in Hamilton, New York, each housing 106 students in double rooms. They occupy a prominent suite at the southern edge of the Colgate's Hilltop campus, inserted between existing residence halls. Negotiating a steep change in grade, each building offers two sets of entrances, a lobby to the north and a first floor commons that opens up to the new quad. The materials, which were locally quarried bluestone and cast stone, accent the facade detailing. Most of the 45,000 CMU were installed into wintertime, which required additional quality control and extensive protection, not to mention the 2,200 pieces of cast stone, that of which created some rigging and installation challenges to overcome. Burke and Pitchen Halls achieved LEED Gold certification. The 30,000 square foot stone exterior of these two facades, of these two buildings, are at the Art Residence Halls, were sourced locally from Pennsylvania, which reflects Colgate's historic architecture, representing the character of the 200-year-old institution. You can change, Nick, the slides. There's some more views of the winter construction. Another slide. That again shows the complexity of wintertime construction and trying to keep things flowing on the hills of Colgate University. Go ahead, next slide. That is the construction of an arch going up. As you can see in the team members, very, very difficult stonework to lay up. Next slide. There's a final mock-up. Next slide. And then here we continue to do the exterior facade. Next slide. And then there's the final photo of the two residence halls at Colgate University. Next slide. And there you have it. Silver Award. Congratulations again to Brett Sherman with Alliance Masonry, Jason Miner of Colgate University, architects, Robert A.M. Stern, the engineer was Thornton Tomasati. The general contractor was Hainer Hoyt Corp. The masonry contractor, like I said, was Alliance Masonry. And the masonry producer was Oneonta Block Company. Congratulations again, guys, to a good job. That's it, Nick. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And now, I know the suspense is killing everyone. To present the Gold Award, Mr. James Deloisio. Jim, it's all yours. Take it away.
Okay, thanks, Nick. And I gotta say, the three judges, and it was fun to be a judge, even though we couldn't actually go to the buildings. And you know, Nick promised us lunch, and he never bought us lunch or anything. But the three judges were not of the same mind about. I got to say, just full disclosure. We had some good, robust discussions about, first, second, and third place, because all three projects were really quite spectacular. The first two projects, you saw the visual appeal of the ashlar masonry and the brick and the arches was really compelling. So it's tough. It's tough being a judge with four really nice buildings. But I am very happy to be able to present about on this project that wins the Gold Award, and the winner is, okay, Nick, the Central Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, also known as CABV, I guess. It won the Gold Award. Now, what you're looking at, it could be just another one-story, brick exterior building, but it's not. There's a lot more to it than that. I really like this project for several reasons. And the first reason, the main reason, is that initially this building was planned to be a standard steel frame building with cold form steel studs, batt insulation between the studs, maybe some rigid plastic insulation, and an exterior masonry veneer with interior gypsum drywall, because, gosh, don't buildings always have gypsum drywall on the inside face? But what they did is the design and construction team redesigned this building using masonry, meeting all of the performance requirements, both structurally and thermally, and came in below the original budget. So this just might be the prototype of the 21st century cost-effective, high-performance masonry building, and I sure hope so. So let's look a little closer into it. Okay, Nick. Next slide, please.
It's coming. There's a little bit of a delay. Sorry, Jim.
That's okay. I'll be patient. First of all, they laid out the building. The design team laid out the building with an automatic masonry layout program called Masonry IQ. Now, I had never heard of Masonry IQ before, and that's one of the benefits of being a judge. You get to read up and learn up on stuff. Masonry IQ is now a Revit add-on program that works with Revit. What it does is it takes the modularity of the masonry units and optimizes the layout and helps you easily modify the dimensions. Don't you wish that you could have just shaved 3 or 4 inches off of a building so that the modular units of masonry could have come out well? Well, Masonry IQ really helps you do that. So check it out. It was like a 2-minute long free YouTube video that shows what it's about. It's really cool. That's the way to design and lay out masonry buildings in the 21st century, right? The other thing is, right off the get-go, it was a special building. It won a place in my heart because it used single web blocks, ASTM C90 concrete masonry unit blocks for the foundation walls. Single web blocks. Now, you don't need 3 webs on a block. You don't even need 2 webs. You can use 1 web. It's in many to install because you can install them around the reinforcing. It allows, there's less obstacles. You can let the grout flow better. And once we get into thermal performance, the single web means that there's only 1 thermal bridge. You knew I was going to say that phrase at least once, right? Only 1 thermal bridge per block. So it really improves the thermal efficiency of the masonry. So they say that this was the first use of single web blocks in New York State. And I don't know of any others myself. Okay, okay, Nick, next slide. And then we got to the above grade walls. And what they did is they used proprietary high R H-spec brick units. You can see the brick units with the brick webs connecting the inside and the outside face shells. And you can see continuous white insulation that looks like EPS to me. So it's decent insulation. And then you've got the vertical reinforcing. And so you put in the grout and you've got a solid masonry wall. And you're basically done. It's a one and done kind of a thing. So they've got 12-inch thick insulated units, and they use lightweight grout with insulation. And the actual units have an actual R value, an overall R value. The word effective R value is misused, but in this case, it was really, you truly get an R 12.1 and R 15.5. But of course, we're talking U factor. It's the thermal flow. The U of 0.082 and a U of 0.065. We got to eventually learn to start talking U factors. I'm just saying. So those U factors, when they, of the entire masonry assembly, were code compliant and high thermal walls. So you had the conductive resistance in the wall from the get-go as soon as you built it, and you have an interior and an inherent air barrier as well. We've seen the plastic and we've seen the spray material and different options for air barriers. A grouted masonry wall, a solid grouted masonry wall, is an inherent air barrier. So you've got the conductive resistance, the convective resistance, and the thermal mass all working for you to have a high performance thermal envelope. Plus, it's the structure. So as a structural engineer that knows building envelope performance, I like this building because these walls do both of those things. And there's more. They do that and more. I sound like a Ronco salesperson, but there's a lot of things that these walls do. Let's go into the next slide. I just like this slide because those rebars are tied in nicely and they're not going to go anyplace. Nice open, clean space to put in grout. So the walls are structural. They're thermal envelope. And they also have the interior and the exterior finishes. And of course, masonry is inherently fire resistant. And if you get the trades in early enough, the electrical and plumbing and mechanical trades, and of course you have to get them in to coordinate anyway, you can put the conduits and the pipes in the walls before the walls are built and the grout is placed. So by the time the grout is placed in the wall, you've got an all-in-one wall system. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Nick. And the lintels were prefabricated, pre-designed, prefabricated, reinforced with carbon fiber strips, and then set into place, and then rebar put in, and grout put in. The lintels were set in place. Why would we use steel lintels that you have to flash and make sure that they're galvanized or corrosion protected, and they have different thermal properties in the masonry, when masonry works as a fine lintel system itself? So let's go to the next slide. And I like this. You got the masons. Look at the smile on the mason's face, right? The production was very good on these walls, and once they got, the masonry units installed, all they had to do was do cleaning of the faces, and you've got the finished wall. There was a lesson learned about keeping up with the cleaning, because when you think about it, every single face on these wall systems were exposed. The exterior, so you can see the brick appearance on the outside. The edges of the windows, you can see the windows and the doors were brick. And also, as you'll see in a couple of slides, the interiors were exposed masonry as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with gypsum drywall and sheetrock and paint and wallpaper and things, but isn't it nice to see masonry on both the inside and the outside? So let's take a look at some of these slides. The next slide, Nick. Yeah, that's the edge. So when you think about it, every single mortar joint that the masons created on this building were exposed, except for a little bit behind the door jamb, But the level of workmanship seems to be pretty high. Again, I'm really sorry that we weren't able to go out and see it this year, but the pride of workmanship of the masons, when they know that every joint is going to be exposed and none of it is going to be covered up by sheetrock or anything, is, I think, compelling to get a good quality project. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is what the kitchen looks like. You can see the masonry. The exterior walls don't have the sheetrock. They have the wall that the masons built, so it's one and done. And again, you can imagine all the conduits and things that are in these walls that need to be in the walls. And yeah, you don't necessarily need any interior finishes if the as-built masonry wall looks adequate and looks good. In my opinion, this looks beautiful. You don't need any exterior additional materials. Okay, next slide, Nick. Okay, so there's the electrical outlets on the bottom and the window sill that's set in place, and you can see the inside face of the window lintel. It's a very honest looking building. You can see the structure. Sorry, there's no arches in this project, but you can really see the structure as it presents itself. One and done. One more slide, I think, and then we see the interior spaces. All the exterior walls have to do with closing. I think it's appropriate to acknowledge the role of Dave Nickerson in this building. Dave Nickerson was with Corfill for a number of years. He originally advanced the concept back in the early 1970s of a pre-insulated block unit. Okay, we think of Corfill as the styrofoam inserts, but the concept of a modular unit that has decent insulation built into it he was a pioneer in that regard. He actually passed away before the building construction happened, but he is responsible for calculating the thermal performance of these different modular wall systems. And the thing about masonry, I'll stop preaching about energy efficiency, but the thing about masonry as a high material, it will perform better thermally in terms of energy usage compared to another ostensibly code compliant later finished building. Studies have shown high thermal mass buildings generally perform better, and there's less chance of error when the air barrier system and the insulation is built right into the wall, and you don't have to have another trade come along and do something or not do something after the case. Okay, next slide. We'll just look again at the overview. I think this building should be a game changer. It really shows a cost-effective, visually attractive on the inside and outside masonry building that has good thermal performance, and in some areas great and reliable thermal performance. The indoor air quality or environmental thermal quality should be very high because of the masonry. The concept that intelligently designed and built masonry buildings can be the best buildings in our community is really the way we should look at masonry projects going forward. We have the expertise right here in New York State and upstate New York. So I'm proud to be able to present the Gold Award as if I had the plaque giving it to the team for the CAB-VI project. The owner is CAB-VI, Rudy D'Amico. The architect is Harmony Architectural Associates, Dave Colgrove. The structural engineer is IPD Engineering, Jeremy Fudo. The general contractor is Charles Gattano, again, construction. Rob Munson was involved on this project. The masonry contractor was Remlap Construction, Mike Palmer, of course. Testing and maybe even special inspections, because that's important too. Atlantic Testing Laboratories, Courtney Tabor. The project was submitted by Rick Roach of Barnes & Cone, who was the masonry producer for this project. So as a team, I give you my congratulations and thank you for an exemplar building that we should really consider as we go forward, designing and building masonry projects. Congrats and thank you. Applause.
Well done, Jim. Thank you very much. Greg, at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and try to get Kyle up and turn things back over to you. So let's see if we can get Kyle sharing his screen. Going to make him the presenter.
All right.
Plan.
Well, while we're waiting on that, I'll just say a couple introductory words here. Again, we only have one project submitted in 2019, so the outcome is fairly predetermined, but doesn't take anything away from this project, to be honest with you. We're very fortunate that Kyle is able to present it for us. He's a senior structural engineer. He's been with Ryan Biggs since 2013, and last few years he's actually been concentrating on the existing building restoration. So right guy, right place, right time, and I believe he was involved in this project. So I'm looking forward to hear what he has to say about it. So I see it's up and we're working, so take it away, Kyle.
All right, yeah, so actually I did have the pleasure of being able to work on this structure in this restoration project. So you might not recognize the building by its name. Toomey Abbott Towers is a 12-story cast in place concrete structure. While you don't recognize the name, I'm sure if you've driven up or down 81, the building itself stands out pretty prominently to the east side of 81. Just down the hill from the VA Center and the Dome. It's pretty obvious building as you come into Syracuse, and one of the last tall structures as you leave Syracuse. So this particular project was for the Syracuse Housing Authority. We worked with William Taylor Architects. Lupini Construction did all the restoration, concrete restoration work. And Vertical Access we brought in to do the actual building assessment. Oftentimes when we do a building assessment, we'll try to do it on our own. But in this instance, with the building being 24 stories, bringing in Vertical Access made the most financial and time sense, given the amount of effort it would have taken to get swing stages up onto the roof and move them around for us to get our hands on the structure. They were certainly a big part of the team and helped the project move smoothly during the design phase. So the building was built in 1968. It's a 24-story residential tower with a 2-story wing to the south that houses on the second story some community spaces, and on the first story it's commercial spaces. It's a cast-in-place concrete frame clad with precast concrete panels. Both the concrete frame and the precast panels are finished on the exterior with board form. That in and of itself made this a very interesting project from a restoration standpoint. And there were a number of limited previous repairs that have been made around the building throughout its life that were more band-aids than they were really repairs. You can see here the state of the building when we took over during the design phase. You can see number of repairs that have been made over the years. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of attention paid to the aesthetics of those repairs. They were really just done quickly, like I said, as a band-aid to put the building back together. The other aspect of the building that, if you had taken note of it prior to this project, it was very dirty. It had, never during the life of the building been cleaned. And as a result, prior to this project, it presented itself as a very large, imposing, dark concrete building. And I think you'll see that, through our project, we really changed the way the building felt by giving it a new facade to some degree. So as part of the design phase, as I said, Vertical Access came in, and over the course of 4 days, they were able to get their hands on the entire facade of the building. Not only did they do the inspection and sounding, but they were able to do select removals where there was loose concrete that presented a concern to the inhabitants in the structure. In addition to vertical access being on the project, we took a concrete core and did some, well, we took a couple of concrete cores and did some concrete analysis. We did air volume testing of the existing concrete, as well as petrographic analysis for carbonation. The beginning portion of the project, we did a high pressure water wash, and then in areas of difficult staining, we did some micro abrasive cleaning. Then the repairs themselves included crack injection, both shallow and deep concrete repairs, and we finished with both the mineral silicate coating and sealer to kind of bring more consistency to the overall appearance of the building. Even with the best match patches, you know, sometimes it's still very obvious that the building's been patched, and by coating the building, we were able to give it a far more consistent appearance. So you can see here some photos that came from vertical access's evaluation of the building. When they say hands-on, they mean it. You know, they are rope access technicians. They set up a number of ropes, and they are in physical contact with the building the whole way down. In addition to this image, you can see, you know, just what we were dealing with. A lot of the deterioration on this building was a direct result of poor concrete cover and the carbonation of the structure over the age. The reality is that the carbonation in this particular building didn't really exceed much of past an inch, which for a building of this age is pretty good. But unfortunately, when you don't maintain good concrete cover, it doesn't take a lot of carbonation to start the deterioration process and the carbonation and rusting you're reinforcing. So here, you know, here's just a couple of shots of the drawings that we put together for the bid documents. You can see through these elevations just what we were dealing with. You know, there is repairs all over this building from the top to the bottom, and obviously being a 24-story tower, it was access to the structure was, you know, quite difficult. And the building is fully occupied by the housing authority and had to maintain access throughout the project while we were, you know, removing concrete over entries and everything. So, you know, working with the design team, the owner, and Lupini Construction, the contractor on the project, obviously, you know, we were able to do a number of pre-construction mock-ups that I think were crucial to getting this project done in the manner that it was and looking as good as it is when it's complete. You know, we were able to use a couple of different repair mortars, a couple of different stains, mock all these things up. You know, the owner was very patient throughout this process. They wanted it done right, and I think, you know, through that process we were able to get the right products to give the owner a really good look at the end of the project. So as I said, you know, this building is board formed, and it's obviously a really important architectural component of this building. To have lost any of that through our repairs really would have been to do the building an injustice. And Lupini's guys were great throughout this process. You know, and a lot of these were very deep repairs that required building out the repair mortar. You know, they did everything by the book with the, you know, the materials that we were able to select. And as you can see, they took great care in the work they were doing, which in a restoration project like this is incredibly important. You know, anybody can put a repair mortar on a building, but the care these guys took to match the architectural aspects of this facade really made the project pop in the end. And as I said, 24 stories, they were on this building a long time, and I can see where, after a certain point in time, the amount of effort that they put in would have worn on them, but they maintained this level of workmanship throughout the building. So you can see some of the different aspects of the process here that they went through, removing the deteriorated concrete, cleaning all the patched areas, coating all the existing rebar, building out the patches, trying to match the finishes as best as possible. The work on this building had to be done in individual drops. Obviously, they couldn't be moving back and forth and do it efficiently. So when one drop of repairs was completed, they came right in afterwards and coated the building. See, the drastic contrast from what we started with to what we finished with. And as you can see, I mean, the difference is night and day. So at the end of the project, we went from a drab, dreary, dirty concrete tower to a building that I think we really brought back to life from a visual standpoint and from a structural stability standpoint. We've addressed all of the deterioration issues that were present, and by using a mineral silicate stain and sealer, we've sealed away the building from future deterioration, at least for the foreseeable future, until again, the building is going to require some additional maintenance. But I think at the end of the day, the big story on this project was just how well the team collaborated to get it from start to finish in as smooth a manner as is possible. And again, the team on this one was William Taylor Architects. Lupini Construction was contractor, used vertical access for the building assessment, and the project was for the Syracuse Housing Authority.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Kyle. I can hear the claps from everybody just virtually, I guess. Like you say, everybody does recognize that building, so that's pretty cool. All the projects were pretty impressive. Thank you to the judges for presenting them. Nick, you have a little something to talk about here with you guys?
Yeah, very briefly, I just want to take the opportunity to sincerely thank all the judges for masonry. Mike Bosak, Scott Lupini, Jim Deloisio, thanks very much for your patience and your endurance over the course of the year. In the spirit of be careful what you wish for, Jim, you just might get it. Maybe we can keep the band together for the next round of awards, and I'll take you out to that lunch. I'll wait for an answer on that one. But I also want to specifically and especially thank Scott and Lori Lupini for sharing their conference room with me today, as well as their internet. Made it a much better experience than on my feeble connection. Trust me. With that, Greg, that's pretty much all I have. Throw it back to you for any closing words.
Okay, thanks, Nick. As Nick and I have discussed offline, distribution of the plaques, we'll have them in hand and talk to the project sponsors to find the best way to distribute rather than trying to drive all around the state and country to deliver them. So we'll be reaching out to you guys to find out how we want to distribute those, and feel free to reach out to us. I want to just say thanks to the judges, Kyle and Nick, your judges, fantastic. And again, back to the volunteerism of what we do. All the board members, everybody that works for this organization, we all do it for free. So thank you, and it really does keep our association alive. As working with a bunch of associations that I have through the years, I think ours does a pretty good job. Would be remiss without acknowledging John Pillars. I always say Pillar. presidency for the last 3 years. He handed it off to me in April of last year, and look what happened. I think we've all learned our lesson. If you want to be able to walk about outdoors, don't let me be president. So, upcoming events, June 10th, we have a field level 1 and special inspector exams. June 11th, I'll be holding lab certifications, concrete strength and ag level 1s and 2s. Don't have anything programmed further than that at this point. Your board will be working all summer. We're going to start our in-person meetings again in June, at which time we start putting our program together for the fall. So if you have ideas or you know of a presentation that you think is appropriate for this group, please reach out to one of the board members and let us know about them. We put a lot of work into that and a lot of head scratching to come up with some good talk. So any input from the members is greatly appreciated. So with that, I open it up. If anybody has anything to say, go ahead and unmute, and we'll have a virtual cocktail with each other, and then we'll be on our way.
Nice job, guys. Beautiful project.
Thank you, Jamie. Just a quick note, Greg and everyone, if all went well, we should have recorded this. So we'll make that available to Janice to put up on the ACI website.
Yeah. I see a little thing in the corner. You did record it, Nick, so we've got it.
So says the light.
So says the light. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and look forward to seeing everybody in person in the coming months here. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, good job, Nick. I was going to give you a call, but we'll just finish it up right here.
Thanks. You too. You too.
That went very well, and we are in under an hour. That was by far the quickest ever, but I think it was good. I think everybody got a lot out of it.
I think so too. You know, under the circumstances, I think it went just about as well as it could have.
Agreed. Your idea for the dryer on Monday was fantastic. I think that really helped us with the handoffs, you know.
Boy, does it ever. Yeah, that's important. I've learned my lesson well with these Zoom type meetings.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Let's go, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye now.